As men, we tend to find ourselves shooting in the dark quite a lot when we're trying to figure out if she likes us or not. And quite often, this usually leads to us getting disappointed, hurt, or both. But did you know that there is actually a way to tell if she likes you or not? And she gives you these signs without even intending to? In this video, we are going to take a look at how to read women's minds. Now, I know you're probably thinking there's no way you can actually read her mind. So what is it, David, that you're really going to teach us? Well, what does it mean to read her mind? Does it mean you are reading what she's thinking? Technically, yes. It's kind of like what magicians do. What do they do when they bring people up on stage? Well, oftentimes what they're doing is they're actually reading body language, nonverbal cues of the person they bring up on the stage, which is exactly what you're going to learn this week. Let's start out by pointing out a fact here. She actually wants you to be attracted to her. Wow! And so, to that end, she's going to encourage you in subtle and even unconscious ways to feel that attraction. She can do this in verbal, physical, and even mental ways. And when I say unconscious, I mean she gives you these signals without even realizing that she is giving them, which puts you at an advantage. So let's start out with verbal signals. What are some examples of verbal signals that she might give? These can be anything from compliments. Oftentimes women call this fluffing the guy's ego. They can include voice volume and voice tone, and even laughing at some of the lamest jokes that you come up with. You can often find these all in the same conversation too. She may compliment, say, your hair or your shirt. But what is she really doing here? It is what we call an opener. She is trying to start a conversation with you. But consider this. If she had absolutely no interest whatsoever in you, would she even give you the time of day? Probably not. So pay attention to when she's trying to drop these openers, and she'll also try other conversation starters besides just compliments. Watch her voice tone too. As you're talking to her, does her voice kind of trail off when she goes to say something a little bit kind of like this? My point exactly. Maybe she even stumbles on her words a little bit, or perhaps she pauses a lot. Let's put you in the situation that she's in. When you're talking to a girl and you really like this girl, don't you try super hard not to mess it up? I think so. That's what she is doing here. She is trying to craft her words very carefully, and consequently, she's tripping all over them. And the funny part is she knows she's tripping all over them, which makes her even more nervous. Another example, does she laugh at even your B-rate humor? If she does, this is another example of possible interest in you, a sign she's actually enjoying your company. Now let's move on to physical signs. What kind of physical signs does she give that might indicate she's interested in you? My personal favorite is when she's playing with her hair. So I like this one because it's the most common, it's the most subconscious, and yet it's the most obvious action that she does to indicate interest. So watch what she's doing when you have a conversation with her next time. She'll start to play with her hair. She'll either be twirling it in her fingers, stroking it lengthwise, whatever. She'll also be smiling, maybe even somewhat of a shy smile while she's doing this. By the way, this isn't limited to just her hair. She may also be playing with her neck, her shoulders, her necklace, the collar of her shirt, earrings, basically anything within this region. Now, I do go further into depth on why she chooses these areas to play with during a conversation later on in my courses and coaching that you can find on my website. But for now, I just want to give you the brief overview for the sake of time. During that conversation, by the way, she will also have her feet facing toward you, all right, in the conversation. This is to indicate she's truly engaged in the conversation. If her feet are pointed away from you, well, that might be a sign she's trying to get out of there. And maybe things aren't going as well as you might be thinking. A little side note. When you do look down at her feet to see where they're pointing, take note of what type of shoes she's wearing. This is a little ninja trick I'm teaching you here. Because how she dresses is a telltale sign of whether she's trying to be attractive or not in the first place. And one of the best compliments you can give a woman is on her shoes, because they really like shoes. Finally, her mental attraction indicators. Now, these can be pretty hard to pick out because they're not as obvious as, say, the physical indicators. But if you know what you're looking for, they can be incredibly powerful. So you want to look for slight trip-ups in her demeanor and in her statements. The best example I can give on this one is when I used to work in the shoe department. I suspected that this one woman was interested in me, but I hadn't really spent enough time with her to really decide there was anything really going on there. There was a kid's shoe department, kind of around the corner from where I was. And one day I turned the corner a little too fast. She was standing there holding a pair of baby shoes, you know, the really, really small ones. And she was kind of looking them over. She glanced up, saw me, and I really don't know how she was able to move this quickly. She must have moved at the speed of light, because she put these down so quickly she knocked the rest of the display across the floor. All while saying very audibly, I'm just looking, I don't have kids. And of course, I had to pick myself off the floor because I was laughing so hard. Seriously, I had to actually hang on to the closest pillar because otherwise I would have literally fallen off onto the floor, laughing. But why was I laughing at this? It was kind of funny, but what was really so funny? Okay, so let's analyze the situation. Notice I never asked her anything about, oh, do you have kids? In fact, this was the first time that she and I had ever even said a word to each other. It was pretty much all just eye contact prior to this, so why did she feel the need for her opening line to be, I don't have kids? Okay. It's because she had to justify her availability. So she's looking at baby shoes, right? So in her mind, she's thinking that I'm thinking she has kids because she's looking at baby shoes. And that is going to jeopardize her chances of being with me. So she has to shut that down really quick. You're basically looking for any situational instance in which she trips on her words or something of that nature. Anything that when you really think about it, it actually gives an indication that she likes you. Again, keep in mind that she wants you to be attracted to her on both a conscious level and a subconscious level. To that end, though she may not go as far as to directly ask you out, she will give you little innuendos, little hints as to whether she is interested or not. All you have to do is know what you're looking for and how to interpret it. And that's pretty much it for this week. But before you go, we have a big announcement that we've been waiting for. My website is up! Yes! So the website is finally up and ready to go, and I'm going to go ahead and put the link for that in the description below. And on the website, I've got courses, I've got coaching. The events will be up soon. They're going to be things like summits and workshops and the like. So yes, very exciting. And by the way, if you're having a little bit of trouble knowing where to start, that's okay. I also do free one-on-one consultation calls available through the website as well. And that's the tip for this week. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends, and as always, get out there and ace it.